Each summer since 1990, the Latvian capital Riga has played host to an odd collection of fashion designers, artists and models. Arriving from all corners of the former Soviet Empire, they were joined by colleagues from London, Paris and Amsterdam. Their final destination, the sleepy Baltic resort of Jurmala, and the purpose of the journey is to take part in a week of creative anarchy. This is the Untamed Fashion Assembly. Since the beginning, the festival has been held against a background of political and economic turmoil. In 1990, with 40 designers exhibiting in 2 shows over 4 days, Latvia was still a small state within the Soviet Empire. Permission to stage the event was eventually obtained from the Politburo in Moscow. The following year, Latvia was fighting for independence. The growing sense of freedom, however, was tempered by the presence of Russian tanks and troops on the streets of Riga. As Moscow laid siege, even the most basic goods were unavailable, and yet the festival had grown dramatically. By 1992, Latvia was fully independent, and the festival had become an international event featuring 150 designers and 200 models. As the world's press gathered to see 5 days of avant-garde fashion shows, the creator's dream had become reality.
I said zero situation in fashion in last Soviet. But I think the fashion is art, and I would like to show people this art.
"30-year-old Bruno Birmanis, himself a designer, has become one of the new Latvian entrepreneurs.
Sometimes I make commercial fashion by order. I make representative clothes for 2 Latvian Olympic teams, one for Albertville and one for Barcelona. I make the clothes by cinema people's order, and special for films and sometimes for special for theaters. But fashion design is not my bread and butter job. And I'm absolutely independent, absolutely free.
What is your bread and butter job?
The advertising.
I've been working on it now for a few months. In detail, and for about 6 months slowly getting into it. Everything's coming together very well. The stage comes from Estonia with Finnish construction. We have the best sound and lighting engineers and technicians and producers in Latvia.
Organising an event of this type involves many problems. In a country where a roll of fax paper costs 1 month's salary, and a telephone connection can sometimes take up to 24 hours of constant dialing, Bruno's patience is often tested.
It's a major feat of organisation.
It
It's
is,
extraordinary.
really, very, very
Extraordinary.
good. You know, there are a lot of little problems, but all the major problems are sorted out. Everything's there.
And it's tourists, and this man show you your rooms and great, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
500 people are taking part in this year's event, and everyone receives free travel, meals and accommodation.
Nobody's not saying no about festival. If I organize call, the government say yes. But if I not organize, the government said not organize, not organize. This is only private initiative.
Bruno, of course, he always dealt with all local bureaucrats and financing, sponsors, Jurmala city authorities, and so on. I mean, this is his show, and he's absolutely at the controls of everything.
After months of preparation, the opening banquet, a chance to meet old friends, discuss new ideas. In the splendour of Riga Castle, the excitement builds. Meanwhile, in Dome Square, in the heart of Riga, the crew have worked for days to set up the opening show, featuring 200 dancers and actors and a 150-piece orchestra with choir. This is Bruno's show.
Important for me, showing all kinds of avant-garde fashion, from real commercial avant-garde till absolutely crazy and charismatic ideas.
I sometimes think that some of the freedom that was repressed for so many years, that each person needs some place or some way to express himself. And a lot of our designers do it through fashion.
Untamed Fashion is the only opportunity for designers from the CIS to meet with their counterparts in the West and compare ideas. The assembly has outgrown its original concept as a friendly competition in which collections were specifically designed for the event. Now, in the presence of the world's press, everyone wants to take part. But essentially, this is a catwalk show.
the standard of our currency is quite different, because, for example, during the first assembly, you can be very happy with 25 rubles, maybe you remember. Then the second one was, I think, 250. You can invite even several friends and have a very good time with a bottle of champagne and some snacks. And now I think at least several thousand rubles are required. And in many situations, you can't even exchange these rubles for local currency. And it's quite a problem.
Whilst the economy is in such disorder, that they've got the opportunity to actually produce work that is ideas-led, pure ideas-led.
The Soviet Union never permitted a fashion industry. Everyday clothes were difficult to get. They were functional and badly made. Most people made their own with the help of friends. Or, if you were lucky enough to have money, state tailors would convert your material into your own designs. The students' work is strongly influenced by the theatre. This is the only area in which they can express themselves freely.
Russian designers or Lithuanian designers, they just do what they want. I mean, it's absolutely unlimited fantasy, because they don't need to sell those things, they don't need to get a contract. So in a way, they are more free in their creative abilities.
Very witty, very funny. You see, that's what I like about them. They're humorous. I think so serious in the West, even if it's like in Paris and it's Christian Lacroix, it's all very serious, even though it's supposed to be funny. It's all done rather casually here.
Some of the more talented designers have gone to work in Italy in order to earn money and buy materials. Others make do with what is available.
An incredibly high standard, and they look great on the catwalk. And the real thrill though is to go backstage and see the clothes close up and realise that they're made out of absolutely nothing. I mean, the quality of the fabrics that they're made from is you know, they're terrible, to put it mildly, and the effects they're getting out of these hideous fabrics is amazing.
is the most important thing when you do fashion.
They fooled us completely on the catwalk. I mean, I kept seeing things and thinking it was Duchess satin, which is kind of like 60 quid a metre at home. And you go up to it at backstage, you find out it's just, you know, lining material, really basic acetate lining material.
The end results are often staggering.
In Russia and in the Baltic countries, it is very difficult to organize manufacturing. Fabrics, you know, textiles are hard to get. Sewing machines are hard to get. Everything is hard to get.
Now, how should I explain? If you have the money, everything can be purchased. It's just a matter of getting to the money. People say the prices are abnormal. I believe that the prices are normal, the salaries are abnormal.
Just because things are available, you can't necessarily buy them, and to have them sitting in front of you, I think I'd feel desperate to see things I'd really like and not be able to afford them.
There's nothing like a challenge that gets people, you know, coming up with really good ideas, which gets really good things out there, you know. And I do feel sorry for some of them because they just don't have access to any money whatsoever.
Or materials, or machinery.
Oh, it's great problems, the fabric problems, the technologies problems, but our people have very good hands and very good heads.
I think the standard's very high, especially from Lithuania. I think the college in Vilnius is an extremely high standard.
Cut forms, round forms. I only did a little game with forms.
In 1990, Julie was a first-year student at the local Academy of Art, but was unable to attend the festival that year due to the birth of her daughter.
Last year it was a little joke because I get nervous looking at our eclectic look at national, all what is national.
This collection pokes fun at Lithuania's national costumes.
Only simple materials, very simple, very primitive, yeah?
Hessian was the only material available to Julie. To complete the collection, Julie spent 2,000 rubles, 3 months' salary for her and her family. Here, Julie takes part in the Baltic section of the festival, with collections from her college shows.
I'm not taking part in a competition show because I think it's time to do something real, more real, not only for show. Because in our countries there are no fashion industry. And it's time to do something what people can wear, what they can want to wear. Yes, it was very difficult to do collection because we had no materials. And now it is very difficult to do collection because we had no money.
Вы знаете, оно очень сильно врезалось в мою память, потому что...
I was inspired by the name of the festival,
Потому что, во-первых,
because for me, it summed up the concept of the festival,
больше всего отвечало концепции самого
Untamed
фестиваля,
Fashion.
Untamed Fashion Assembly.
This collection by Serge from Armenia received a nomination, and it completely filled the brief.
I was deeply impressed by the whole idea of the festival. It wasn't commercial. It's a flight of fantasy. Because Untamed Fashion, in principle, isn't even fashion. Perhaps it is art.
His second-year collection, also nominated, sits rather more comfortably on the model's shoulders.
Я считаю, что кожа, она ближе к природе, она ближе
I think that leather is closer to nature
натуральной сути
and
вообще
closer to
природы
mankind.
человека. И то, в принципе, я постарался дать такое
I
название.
named my
растяжимое,
collection
не
Hunt and
конкретно
Hunters,
охота,
as life is
охота,
like
вот
a
именно
great
жизнь.
hunt.
В принципе, жизнь — это большая охота. Great hunt.
By 1992, Serge had obtained sponsorship and now designs for a commercial leather company.
On one hand, it was great to meet other designers and exchange ideas, but on the other hand, it was quite sad, as the festival is becoming more commercial.
That's my problem. I'm always ironic.
But not all students take the commercial road. Sandra's collections are spiced with humour and irony.
You can see we are using various cheap materials. There are lots of problems. You have to dig and search for the best materials for your needs. You look for what you need or what you can use, but often it is useless. You have to adapt simple materials. You have to think about it, plan and overcome the problems. Last year, there was less humor. It was serious and sad. That was because of January the 13th. It was sad and complicated.
As trouble brewed over Lithuania's recent declaration of independence, Soviet troops attacked and captured the television tower in Vilnius. on January the 13th, 1991. It was protected by a silent, unarmed and passive crowd. 14 civilians were killed, either shot or mercilessly crushed by tanks. In 1992, Sandra rediscovered her sense of humour with a collection entitled Shit and Piss.
I was inspired by mountaineers, skiers and motorcyclists. I'm showing 3 collections, 2 in the model. It's beach fashion. People should come. The exchange of people and ideas is vital.
And I was given, I remember, a very varied bunch, the first show I gave. They weren't models at all. I mean, they were like people off the streets.
Sculptor and Alternative Miss World creator Anrew Logan has shown at all 3 events, each time with more problems than before.
Then I got the real models. Fabulous. Okay. So,
Having expected to find professional models, Andrew also mistakenly thought they would have their own clothes. In fact, he had to make their costumes from his packing material. Despite the initial chaos and confusion, everyone pulled together and the shows were a huge success.
Well, you know, I'm just glad that I'm not doing the choreography this time, because I had a hell of a time last time. I'm here representing Andrew Logan. I am his coordinator for this trip. I've bought 1981 crown jewels, 1991 crown jewels, the new Alternative Miss World, and I've bought kind of goodwill.
For your safety, condoms are issued in anticipation of another of Andrew Logan's orgasmic artistic adventures.
Andrew's 1991 show was a half-hour spectacular.
get my poor self together, training all the time. Smiling at me, nothing but bluebirds can I see.
And it's a bit of a whirlwind. I mean, obviously, I think by now we're beginning to feel a bit shell-shocked with it all, especially trying to rehearse what we're doing with Andrew and stuff. But I hope we give them a really good show.
Well, I'm going to nab who I can after the show tonight. You and I go try and get
The hectic schedule made 1992 even more difficult.
can't do that.
As a whole, our show is very ambitious, really, for the amount of time available. And also rehearsing models like in Latvian and Russian is quite hard work.
5 minut перерыв. После прогона будет 5 минут.
They actually responded very well to Lynn Seymour, the choreographer. They know exactly what they're doing, and they've picked it up very quickly, and it's a very elaborate routine.
Again. Stop. More. Again. Stop. Sorry.
Having conceived an incredibly complex show, Andrew's team then discovered that due to the number of other shows, insufficient time for their rehearsals had been allocated. The models worked late into the night, often missing vital meal breaks, and even more importantly, missing the parties.
Strike. St. Petersburg is on strike.
Why?
Money. Dancing, because they say they're dancing.
They just all said it, every one of them.
Значит, это неправильная информация, но это не демагогия.
The models were unhappy about being paid a fixed rate, 100 rubles, about 40 pence, for each designer and show. Other designers rehearsed once for about half an hour. Andrew's rehearsals had gone on for days.
It went very, very well. It was a great success, very mad. We had Hermine, who is a French performance artist, who I've known for many years. I've known her 20 years. Unknown to all of us, decided she was going to make a protest about the hammers and sickles routine that I was doing. So the models came on and she just started grabbing, she came out and started grabbing all these hammers and, you know, the sickles, I think, and piling, throwing them down. It was a sculpture.
Without their props, the models were no longer sure of what they were meant to do. After everyone's hard work, the show had degenerated into chaos.
It's sad, really, you know, because she's been involved with Alternative Miss Worlds right back to 1978, 75. I'm thinking next year, though, that I won't have any models. I'd quite like to. I was thinking cows would be quite good. They've got a lot of cows in Latvia. They'd look fabulous with jewellery, wouldn't they? You know, with big earrings and brooches.
A lively debate has grown over what is meant by avant-garde and what should be shown at the Untamed Fashion Assembly. One show everyone agreed about was Andrey Bartenyev's Botanical Ballet.
Авангардная. То авангарда как такового очень мало.
Unfortunately, there is not much avant-garde here, and it is very sad. Here we have seen many collections by different designers, but they are like pretentious pop art.
Декоративным попсом.
What does avant-garde mean, actually, Henry?
Well, avant-garde is an art movement, I guess, really, or an attitude to art. And quite a lot of it doesn't fit that brief, actually.
But if they were all avant-garde, it would be kind of a bit boring, really.
But then again, some of it is just hitting it just right. That avant-garde starts in the bedroom. That was perfect.
Behind this bizarre show lay a very practical reason.
Basically, when I got a new flat, my sponsors gave me money. I needed to buy things for my flat, so I bought duvet, blankets and rugs, and I made my collection from them. I think that some collections are not avant-garde, in context with the name of the festival, but they are good, and I don't dislike them.
It's a lot more, I suppose, avant-garde than last year. I mean, some of the costumes, they're much more unwearable, which is what appeals to me, the total impracticality of things. I just like things that sort of fall apart and move and have funny gadgetry.
I think avant-garde comes before commercial fashion, because it creates ideas for the industry. Consumers want to see something new all the time.
Maybe fashion is the wrong word to use. Maybe it should be body-based art, which is what a lot of these pieces are. If the word untamed is being used, or wild or sauvage as it's been translated to, I think if that word is being used and it's based around the body and it exists now, this year, well, then that's enough of a category.
I think we have good base for avant-garde here. And I like avant-garde. I'm organizer.
Auditions for the models are advertised, and you just turn up. It's known as a slave market, and the models are chosen. It's not that bad, she's just depressed.
When Western designers first came here, they were uncertain of what to expect from local models. Although most of them were amateur, the standard was very high. The old image of the Russian babushka was completely shattered.
There's some real goddesses here.
Yeah, there's one or two real world-class models in there. I'm actually quite convinced of that. I mean, if they get the breaks, they could. I'm sure they might well be there. And it's not at all surprising that Italian agencies and foreign agencies are picking up girls from here. In fact, the boys have been very good as well. Male models are always a bit of a problem.
It is very difficult to work as a professional model in Latvia. You could only take part in these sort of festivals.
In Russia, not so often. In Italy, I was working, it's much more. But in Russia, not too much work for me, for a model.
It's nothing new to say that this type of work is not valued highly enough here. That's a well-known fact.
You can say that models aren't paid at all. That's one of the main reasons why it is hard to be a model.
We have been told for one show they will pay us 100 rubles, including rehearsals. But the money is not so important. What is important? I really like being on stage. It's my life. There have been many changes here, but I would like to thank Dina Tarasova for organizing the rehearsals and access to everything. I think here I'm doing everything. I'm the producer's assistant. I'm responsible for everything to do with the models. I'm not a model myself. I'm an architect. It started strangely and has become my hobby. I simply love being on stage. I like it because I can express what I feel. I'm just a restless person and I want to live many lives. This time is great fun. Great fun for designers and models. I don't go to nightclubs every night, only twice. Last night I was performing at a nightclub, lots of music, dancing, relaxation and alcohol. We sleep 2 or 3 hours a day. We have got used to it. Very relaxing.
Every night there are discos and all the models, they go there and they dance till 6 or 7 in the morning, and then you know, they don't come in time for rehearsals, and if you see them on catwalk, then you know, they have this typically red eyes.
I would definitely sort of reduce some leisure activities here, because for some reason it prevents from the work. For instance, for the first 2 assemblies, they invited some very interesting people for seminars and for some lectures, and it was very, very good idea to bring some new information and to have the exchange of the ideas. And now it's for some reason stopped.
It's a very sad situation. Beba, who is the expert here, she's a Latvian. She's won many competitions, and they have many makeup competitions all over the Soviet Union. She does very intricate body painting, which she does for the competitions, with little tiny eye pencils and little tiny eyeshadow things that you get in a compact, which I personally can't imagine having to do that, and it must take hours and hours. I think they have a makeup that they get from Thailand, but it's like the cheapest makeup that you can find probably anywhere in the world. When I first got the idea to teach here, the only way I could conceive of doing it was to actually get sponsorship. So each of the students has makeup that's been donated by Kryolan and the Body Shop, which they're absolutely thrilled about.
She organized makeup seminars for Eastern young designers and makeup artists. It's 5 days, 8 hours per day. Very hard work, but now we have some very interesting young makeup artists, makeup designers here.
They don't have really preconceived ideas of what is in fashion, what is out of fashion. They're open-minded. They're open-minded about everything. Everything is good to them, which I think is a fantastic attitude. And I've tried to cater the teaching that I'll be doing to that way of thinking. So I'm trying to introduce makeup styles from Japan and New Guinea and Africa, everywhere that I can think of that I think they could probably use and put things together and create very interesting ideas of their own. It could stand out, yeah. That's lovely. I think, yeah, you can put color here.
White color?
White, yes.
It's before red.
Well, you could have. And here. I just told the students that they could do whatever they wanted. They could, you know, do things that we've done in class, or they could do their own things, and to just make it very informal and whatever they want to do. So they're working on it all day if they want to.
On the last night of the 1991 festival, the students demonstrated what they'd been taught.
Well, I've come just to come dressed up and add a bit of glamour to the proceedings as Miss Gail Forcewind, the Alternative Miss World 1991.
Bernal came here to appear in Andrew Logan's show.
I think the biggest problem is that having all the kids around me, because you could just get, I just love persuading kids to stick their tongues out of things and to be silly, and it was so easy to do it. I mean, back in Britain, they're all so sort of nose in the air, but here they were just like Pied Piper, they were all chasing down the streets after me. The reaction in Riga is just so friendly. They're just amazed and just so happy to see me, I think. Something new.
His impromptu appearances in Riga caused quite a stir.
Been out clubbing a bit too much, I suppose, but then I'm supposed to be here to club, I suppose, to wear my outfits. I'm coping, but on 3 hours sleep a night, it'd be quite nice to get home and have a bit of a rest. If you want to make the most of it, you've got to be as wild and weird and out of this world as possible. Everybody who comes has got to give inspiration to others. Go for it all the time. Don't just do it for the shows, do it everywhere, and any opportunity, do it in the hotels, in the street, on the beach. Just have a laugh.
When you're here, it's all kind of hell, because no one ever turns up on time, nothing ever happens. But there's a wonderful joy to life somehow here. Still here. Still exists here. It's going to change.
The success of Bruno Birmanis and his Untamed Fashion Assembly cannot be measured simply by its size. Having laid the foundations, Bruno has created an opportunity for artists from East and West to meet and exchange ideas.
I was afraid that as years pass by, it will get more and more respectable, that he will try to attract big names and turn it from an Untamed Fashion Assembly to a prestigious fashion assembly. But thank God it didn't happen.
Я хотел бы очень поблагодарить Bruno, организатора фестиваля.
I would like to thank Bruno, the organizer of this festival. While we might disagree on some points, because we have different ideas, I'm grateful to him. He conceived the idea, and now it is a reality.
I compare it to like somewhere like a peace festival, you know, something like that. Everyone just wants to change things, to move on, to stamp on, you know, the old authority.
As the partying continues late into the night, political differences are forgotten. Governments in this region are constantly at loggerheads. These young Europeans from east and west have made lifelong friends, despite language and other barriers.
Of course, very good idea, because 15 years we was under wall and we don't see another world.